Have you ever felt there was a deeper layer to reality? Something just beyond the edge of ordinary perception? Something you can sense but not quite explain? What if the reason is simple? Your third eye has been sleeping. Across centuries, sages, mystics, and enlightened teachers have insisted that the human being possesses an inner eye, a gateway to intuition, higher perception, and extraordinary clarity. Yet today, most people walk through life unaware of this profound organ of consciousness, hidden deep within the brain, the pineal gland. But here's the mystery. If the ancients revered the third eye as the seat of insight, vision, and awakening, why has this knowledge been forgotten? Why do so many modern teachings bypass the most essential method? The one technique whispered through mystery schools, carved into temple walls, and preserved by the few who knew its true power. Tonight, we are not just exploring the third eye. We are uncovering the forgotten Pineal method, a technique so simple, so natural, and so profoundly transformative that it challenges everything you thought you knew about spiritual awakening. In this video, we will journey into the ancient understanding of the third eye and its role as a spiritual portal, the symbolic and hidden teachings left behind by civilizations that mastered inner vision, the deeper mechanics of awakening the pineal gland, not through force or fantasy, but through alignment, intention, and subtle inner practices, and ultimately, the method that has been overlooked, dismissed, or silenced until now. This is not about rituals of extremes, not about bizarre practices or mystical exaggerations. This is about remembering, reconnecting with a power built into your very biology. Because awakening your third eye is not about leaving this world. It's about seeing this world with new eyes, clearer eyes, conscious eyes. So take a breath. Slow your mind. Feel the quiet hum inside your chest. Your initiation begins the moment you recognize that the real portal, the real gateway, has always been within you, patiently waiting for you to open it. To understand the third eye and the forgotten pineal method, we must step far beyond modern biology and into the spiritual memory of ancient civilizations, cultures that viewed the pineal gland not as a mere organ, but as a divine instrument of perception. Long before microscopes, neurochemistry, or anatomical charts, the ancients knew something extraordinary. The human body carries a hidden gateway, an inner eye capable of seeing beyond the boundaries of ordinary reality. The Egyptians, the Eye of Horus, and the map of inner vision. For the ancient Egyptians, the pineal gland was encoded in one of their most sacred symbols, the Eye of Horus. Behind the myth of the wounded god lies a deeper truth. Its geometry mirrors the exact structure of the brain's limbic system and pineal region. To the Egyptians, this inner eye allowed priests and pharaohs to receive visions, guidance, and higher wisdom. It was considered the seat of the Ka, the vital essence that connected humans to the divine realms. Initiates in the mystery schools underwent secret rituals meant to awaken this inner eye. Strict diets, breath control, sensory deprivation, and guided inward journeys. The purpose wasn't power, it was alignment, to harmonize the physical self with the cosmic order. Ma'at. India and the Vedic rishis, the Ajna chakra across the east, ancient yogic traditions recognize the pineal gland as the Ajna chakra, the third eye. Thousands of years before neuroscience, the rishis described this center as the command seat of intuition, perception, and direct knowledge, jnana. They believed it was the bridge between the human mind and the universal consciousness. The Ajna chakra was not merely symbolic. It corresponded to a subtle energy center that could be awakened through meditation, breathwork, pranayama, mantra, recitation, and disciplined inner focus. The rishis understood something modern science has only begun to explore. Consciousness is not confined to the brain. It radiates through it. The Greeks, the seat of the soul. When Greek philosophers encountered Eastern and Egyptian teachings, they preserved the pineal mystery in their own language. Plato described the third eye as the organ of inner sight, a mechanism that allowed the soul to remember its divine origin. But it was Descartes, centuries later, who famously called the pineal gland the seat of the soul, the point where the immaterial and material worlds converge. Though modern scholars reduce this to metaphor, Descartes wasn't speaking poetically. He believed that consciousness flowed through this point like a beam through a lens. The decline of inner knowledge. So why did this understanding fade? Why did a truth once revered across continents become ignored, or worse, dismissed? The answer lies in history. As civilization shifted toward materialism, institutions grew wary of inner power. Mystical knowledge, especially knowledge that made people self-aware, was suppressed, hidden, or rebranded as superstition. The pineal gland became a mystical relic, a forgotten organ reduced to biology textbooks and obscure spiritual texts. Over time, the ancient method of awakening the third eye was fragmented. Some teachings preserved in temples, others in monasteries, others encoded in symbols many lost altogether. Yet the knowledge never fully disappeared. It survived like an ember waiting for breath. Today, as consciousness expands again and humanity seeks deeper understanding, the old teachings are resurfacing. The pineal gland is not a myth, not a metaphor. It is a biological, energetic, and spiritual portal. In the next section, we will explore how the third eye actually works, what it does inside your brain, how it affects perception, and why awakening it can transform everything you experience as reality. To awaken the third eye, to truly ignite the pineal gland, you must first understand what it actually is beyond the anatomical descriptions, the mystical claims, and the spiritual cliches. Most people think of the third eye as a mystical symbol or a metaphor, but to the ancients it was neither. It was a gateway, a literal organ of perception, but not of the physical world. The pineal gland has been called the seed of eternity, the lamp of the gods, and the crystal portal. And none of these names are exaggerations. Every single one points to a profound truth. The third eye is the only organ in the human body capable of perceiving both the material and immaterial realms. But here's where the forgotten mystery begins. 1. The pineal gland as an inner sensor. Imagine a compass, but instead of pointing north, it points toward truth, coherence, and alignment. The pineal gland is like that compass. It senses electromagnetic fields, subtle energies, and vibrational patterns. Indigenous shamans, Egyptian priests, Hindu mystics, and Taoist sages all described a similar phenomenon, a pulsing sensation in the center of the brain when entering altered states of consciousness. This wasn't imagination, it was activation. The pineal gland responds directly to breath intention, darkness sound, vibration, emotional states, certain meditative rhythms. This sensitivity is why ancient traditions placed enormous value on mastering breath, chanting sacred tones, and practicing deep stillness. They weren't rituals, they were technologies. 2. The forgotten pineal mechanics. Here's a deeper layer most teachings ignore. The pineal gland contains microcrystals. These crystals vibrate, they create pressure. And when activated, they behave like antennae. Modern science acknowledges these crystals but does not explore their energetic function. Ancient mystics did. To them, these crystals were the inner jewel, the Shiva Linga, the Eye of Horus, the heavenly pearl. They believed that when activated, these crystals allowed the mind to receive impressions from the subtle worlds, visions, intuition, premonitions, and higher insights. Think of it as the brain gaining a second channel of perception, one tuned not to physical light, but to inner light. 3. The third eye as a portal between worlds. In many ancient texts, from the Egyptian Book of the Dead to the Vedic Upanishads, the third eye is described as a doorway, a gate, or a bridge. This isn't metaphorical. The pineal gland sits at the exact geometric center of the brain, between the hemispheres, like a doorway between two worlds. The left hemisphere, logic, linear thought, physical perception. The right hemisphere, intuition, Symbolism, multidimensional perception. The pineal gland is the mediator. When inactive, these hemispheres remain disconnected and perception is limited. When awakened, the third eye becomes the harmonic bridge, allowing consciousness to move fluidly between rational thought and expanded awareness. This is why awakened individuals often describe enhanced intuition, vivid dreams, spontaneous insight, heightened perception, deep emotional clarity, a sense of profound inner seeing. These are signals that the third eye is shifting from dormant to active. 4. The barrier that blocks awakening. Here's the part most modern teachings won't tell you. The third eye doesn't open because you meditate once. It opens when identity dissolves. The greatest barrier to pineal awakening is not diet, light exposure, or physical toxins. It is the ego's grip on your perception of reality. As long as your identity is fixed, defined by fear, limitation, or external validation, the third eye remains closed. The pineal gland is designed to activate only when the seeker is ready to perceive life from a higher vantage point. Ancient initiations were built around profoundly symbolic experiences. Descent into darkness, controlled breathing, sensory withdrawal, guided inner imagery chants that resonated with pineal frequencies. These were not rituals for show. They were psychological and energetic triggers designed to crack the shell of the old self and give birth to the new. 5. Awakening begins with a shift in awareness. The third eye doesn't activate outward, it activates inward. It begins the moment you start. Questioning your narratives, observing your thoughts instead of obeying them, sensing energy instead of only objects, listening to intuition instead of ignoring it. This shift, the awakening of inner perception, is the foundation of all pineal activation techniques. If Part 1 revealed what the third eye truly represents, an inner sense, a gateway of perception, a bridge between the physical and the subtle, Part 2 dives into the deeper terrain, how it actually awakens, why many seekers get lost along the way, and what the ancients understood that modern spirituality often forgets. Because awakening the third eye is not about seeing visions, it is about seeing reality clearly. And clarity is far more powerful and far more dangerous than most people realize. 1. The veil of ordinary perception. From the moment we are born, the mind is conditioned to focus outward. We are taught to observe objects, facts, external stimuli, and linear timelines. This outward fixation creates a veil, not because the truth is hidden, but because our attention is trapped in the surface layers of existence. The ancients described this veil in many ways: the Maya of the Vedas, the illusion of form in Buddhism, the shadow world of Platonic philosophy, the sleep of Adam in mystical traditions. All these metaphors point to the same idea. Human perception is incomplete unless the inner eye is active. 2. The forgotten mechanism of inner light. Ancient teachers believed that the third eye was not merely symbolic but functional, a subtle organ capable of perceiving frequency, intention, and invisible patterns. It operated not through physical light, but through inner light, the luminous awareness that arises when the mind becomes still. This is why the ancients meditated in darkness, fasted, or entered trance-like states. These practices were not superstition. They were techniques to activate the inner light by quieting the external senses. When the outer light dims, the inner light ignites. 3. The 3 keys to awakening. Across cultures, 3 principles consistently appear in third eye teachings. Stillness. The mind must become quiet enough to perceive subtler layers of reality. Stillness is not the absence of thought, it is the mastery of attention. Sensitivity. The seeker must cultivate sensitivity to internal sensations, pressure at the brow, intuitive signals, energetic shifts. These sensations are the third eye's call, not random events. Alignment. The third eye cannot awaken in a fragmented psyche. Clarity requires inner coherence between thoughts, emotions, and actions. This is why the ancient mystery schools required ethical discipline, breathwork, and inner purification before teaching advanced practices, not because they were moralistic, but because a misaligned seeker cannot handle expanded perception. 4. Why the third eye closes again. Many people have spontaneous glimpses, moments of intuition, synchronicity, or heightened perception, but lose them as quickly as they arrive. This happens because awakening requires stability, not peak moments. The third eye does not stay open simply because you wish it to. It stays open when your daily life becomes harmonious with inner truth. When your actions contradict your intuition, when your emotions remain unresolved, when your lifestyle feeds chaos rather than clarity, the third eye dims to protect you from overwhelm. This is not punishment. It is wisdom. 5. The paradox of vision. Here lies the greatest paradox of third eye awakening. You do not awaken the third eye to see the unseen. You awaken it to see the seen differently. The world does not change, you do. Colors seem more vivid because your awareness is sharper. Synchronicities appear because you finally notice the patterns. Intuition strengthens because you stop doubting your inner voice. The third eye does not reveal a new world. It reveals the deeper world that was always there. 6. The true gift of awakening. When ancient masters spoke of spiritual sight, they were not referring to visions of deities, auras, or mystical landscapes. Those can occur, yes, but they are side effects, not the purpose. The true gift of third eye awakening is discernment, the ability to distinguish truth from illusion, alignment from fear, intuition from conditioning. This is the power that transforms a seeker into an initiate. All the ancient symbolism, mystical references, and hidden philosophies surrounding the pineal gland mean nothing if they cannot be lived, experienced, in the body, mind, and spirit. Awakening the third eye is not an abstract concept. It is a practice, a discipline, a way of perceiving reality that you develop through intention, awareness, and consistency. In this section, we'll dive into the forgotten methods, the overlooked practices, and the subtle yet powerful techniques that ancient mystics used to activate this sacred inner portal. 1. The stillness method. Entering the inner chamber. Almost every ancient tradition insisted that the third eye opens in stillness, not silence of the environment, but silence of the inner turbulence. Find a quiet place, sit comfortably, let your breath slow, and then place all your attention gently on the space between your eyebrows, but also slightly behind it. Don't force, don't strain, simply observe that point. At first, you may feel nothing. Then a slight pressure, a pulse, a tingling, a soft warmth, or the sense that awareness itself is focusing inward, like a lens being tuned. This is the doorway beginning to respond. Practice this for 5 to 10 minutes a day. The consistency, not intensity, is what reawakens the dormant circuits of perception. 2. The breath of illumination, direct pineal activation. Ancient Egyptian, Tibetan, and Taoist texts all reference breath as a key to opening inner sight. Here's a powerful yet simple technique. Inhale slowly through the nose for 4 seconds. Hold for 4 seconds, gently directing attention to the pineal region. Exhale for 6 seconds, imagining the air leaving through the center of your forehead. Repeat for 7 to 10 rounds. This breath pattern does 3 things: calms the nervous system, increases oxygenation, fuel for the pineal gland, directs subtle energy upward toward higher centers. Over time, this creates a radiant sensation behind the brow, similar to a small inner sun gathering strength. 3. Light fasting and detox rituals, clearing the inner lens. The pineal gland is extraordinarily sensitive. Ancient cultures knew this and used cleansing rituals, herbal purifiers, and fasting cycles to optimize spiritual perception. You don't need extreme discipline, only awareness. Helpful modern practices include avoiding excessive artificial light at night, reducing processed foods, spending 10-15 minutes daily in natural sunlight, drinking pure water intentionally, reducing overstimulation from media and noise. These behaviors naturally increase melatonin and serotonin, the biochemical seeds of intuitive perception. 4. Symbolic visualization. The forgotten method. Across ancient civilizations, symbols were not drawings, they were activation keys. One of the most powerful symbols for awakening the third eye is the luminous triangle or radiant eye. Visualize it inside your mind, glowing where your pineal gland sits. Imagine a triangle of golden light, a sphere of blue-violet energy, an inner flame, a radiant lotus opening. These images awaken dormant neural pathways and stimulate intuitive awareness. 5. The observer exercise, training inner vision. The most profound technique is also the simplest. Become the observer. Multiple times throughout the day, ask yourself, who is noticing this moment? This tiny question pulls you out of autopilot and into heightened consciousness. It strengthens the pineal gland's natural function, perceiving the inner dimension of reality. 6. The commitment. Awakening the third eye is not a single moment. It is a gradual unveiling. You may notice heightened intuition, symbolic dreams, flashes of insight, deeper calm, synchronicities, increasing the sense of seeing through situations. These are signs that the ancient portal within you is opening. As we reach the end of this journey, one truth stands out with unmistakable clarity. Awakening the third eye is not an exotic ritual, not a mystical privilege reserved for a chosen few, and certainly not a fantasy locked inside ancient scriptures. It is a biological, energetic, and spiritual potential that every human being carries within them, quiet, waiting, patient, like a seed that only needs the right conditions to burst into light. Throughout this exploration, you've seen that the pineal gland is far more than a tiny organ tucked in the center of the brain. It is a portal, an inner gateway through which perception expands, intuition awakens, and consciousness begins to remember its true nature. Ancient civilizations knew this. They honored it, protected it, and built entire spiritual systems around the sacred art of activating this hidden center. But somewhere along the timeline of modern life, this wisdom was forgotten, buried, replaced by noise, distraction, and materialism. Not because the pineal gland lost its power, but because we lost our ability to listen. And now, with the practices you've learned, breathwork to stimulate inner currents, visualization to reawaken subtle pathways, silence to sharpen awareness, and intention to direct the mind, you hold the key to unlocking what has always been inside you. This journey is not about becoming someone new. It is about remembering who you truly are. The real initiation begins not with dramatic visions or supernatural sensations, but with a shift, a soft yet profound shift in how you see the world and how you see yourself. A shift into presence, clarity, intuition, and deep inner knowing. So the question now becomes, will you continue this awakening, or will you let the noise of the world pull you back into forgetting? If this video stirred something within you, an echo, a memory, a spark, share your thoughts in the comments. Your experience may be the catalyst someone else needs, and if you're ready to go deeper into ancient wisdom, hidden truths, and the secret architecture of consciousness, subscribe, stay close, and step with me into the next revelation. Your awakening has already begun. Now it's time to follow it.